Dudes and dudettes, how are you guys? This is Chazzy and welcome back to 8-Bit Chazzy, the segment on this channel where I review the many video games that I play over the years, whether they're on YouTube or off of YouTube. And I have started this trend lately where after I play a particular sports game on my channel, usually consisting of several gameplays in one playlist, I come here and I review the entire gaming franchise as a whole. This is going to be my third version of that, my third iteration of this, because I already talked about FIFA, like last year at some point, and my previous one was reviewing the EA Sports NHL series after playing NHL 22, and today I'm going to be talking about gridiron football, tossing the old pigskin around because I recently finished playing Madden NFL 23 on my channel. That was a really good playlist, man. That was awesome, and it felt really good to conclude it, very interesting story arc at the end with some montages and compilation. And today, if you have been following this trend here for the last few years, here on my channel, I am going to be reviewing the entirety of the series now, the EA Sports Madden NFL franchise. Oh boy, man, this one here is a doozy. It has its roots way back in 1988, where the first game called John Madden Football was released for the Apple II PC, which was very cringy. Looking back on it today, it's a very hard game to stomach. There were no licenses, there are no player names or uniforms or team names or colors or anything. It was just a generic football game. And now fast forward a few years and it has become one of the highest grossing, can I say grossing for a gaming franchise, because grossing is more for movies, right? It's become one of the most let's say successful, financially successful, video game franchises in the sports genre, so it has sold upwards of 130 million copies as of today, which has generated over $4 billion in revenue. Now that is insane. In case you're wondering, the name Madden comes from John Madden, the Pro Football Hall of Fame coach. It is actually named after him, and it actually took on his license after, I do believe, 94, when it was actually called Madden 94, 95, 96, and kept going, because at that point they had acquired the NFL license, to actually use the official player's name. Well, the players came later with the NFLPA, but still, at some point when they got all of the licenses, wrapped together, they were able to call the game Madden NFL, which had been a mainstay, annual releases ever since 1990, because that first game will go down in history as a very cringy piece of crap. But hey, it still influenced a lot of the future developers, so many consoles saw the release of Madden, and unfortunately the more recent games haven't really fared too well. There is a little bit of controversy, and criticism, but still, if you look at it as just a regular football simulator video game, to me it's a lot of fun. I had a blast playing the current one, even though the current one is actually Madden NFL 24, but that's beside the point. The current one that I could get my hands on was 23, don't you judge me! Anyway, before I continue and talk about a little bit of the history behind these games, let's take a look at a clip here from one of the very first ones, and oh, behold the cringe.
Cut! Hot! Red! Hot! Hot! Touchdown!
Pretty hard to look at today, huh? It's pretty hard to look at today. God dang. You have no idea how much it made me itch, doing the research for this video, getting clips from YouTube to use here, looking at all these old games. Oh God, man, the evolution is a crazy thing in entertainment, huh? What I most like about these games today is that it really does try to simulate, an actual authentic NFL experience, so, you got the playbooks and the audibles, you have the players, reacting in real time, and you also have the commentary, which is there to simulate a real NFL television broadcast, which I think is cool. But back in the early days, in the humble beginnings in 1988, where we had John Madden Football, which can also be called Madden 89, just to kind of get on the Madden trend there. This was released for the Apple II, and there was nothing in this game. It was just a generic football game, with random sprites. Everybody was white because there were no licenses at the time. There were no player names. There were no, there were no actual squad numbers. There weren't even any team names or stadiums. There was nothing. It was just a bunch of sprites playing football. And things started to get better in the 90s. There was like a period where they didn't release any games because they did want it. Madden wanted it to be as realistic as possible, so that's why they released released it in '88, but then they developed it a little bit more. And in 1993, there was the release of Madden NFL 94, which was kind of a game changer. It was released for the Super Genesis, the Sega Genesis, and the Super Nintendo. And this one here was the introduction of the official NFL license, you know. So they had the team licenses, so they could actually show the team names now. But the players were still identified by just the numbers. They didn't have their names yet because they didn't have the license from the NFLPA, which is the NFL Players Association, right? But they managed to get that in the following game that was released in 1994, which was Madden NFL 95. This one here really was a game changer. The same two consoles, but now they had the Players Association license. So aside from the actual player names, they actually had their real authentic squad numbers now, which was really cool. And it started to get better, you know. There were more quarter lanes now. There were there was some more, I believe the commentary was a little different. There was some more there was some different audibles, you know, basically playbook tactics. So the games were starting to look a little better, you know. Fast forward a little bit more, and now as the games were evolving and selling much more, right there at the turn of the millennium in 1999, we had the release of Madden NFL 2000, you know, which was for the modern day consoles at the time. So we had the Nintendo 64, the PlayStation 1, and there was also a handheld port for the Game Boy Color, which did play really well for the time if you were into handheld games. They also released it for PC, you know, for Windows and Mac. This game here really revolutionized what Madden was all about, because it introduced quite a few different things, like for example the play editor. You also had arcade mode and this new thing called the Madden Challenge, which is, I guess, similar to the Ultimate Team daily challenges that we have today. You just do different challenges and do different plays, you know. The game handled really well on the PS1. If you played it back then, I saw a few videos and it actually looked really well, especially if you're looking at it from an evolutionary standpoint. And they just kept getting better, you know. Madden NFL in 2002, right, let me put the date up there first, we had Madden NFL 2003, which was released for multiple consoles, and this was the first game to introduce online play, even though it was limited for Xbox and PS2 and I think just PC, right? But it was still very fun to get together with people online and try to play, you know. And at this point, I believe there was also couch co-op, you know, because yeah, obviously there was, you know, a split screen. It was introduced back in the Genesis and Nintendo days. I just forgot which game exactly, but they just kept getting better. There were polygonal models now, so the graphics were enhancing. They were improving with each game, you know, different systems, you know, different tactics, you know, the analog stick on a PlayStation button, you know, made things a lot easier to do different tactics and different moves and stuff. It was starting to get really, really good, man, you know. Fast forward a little bit more to 2005, and then you had Madden NFL 06, which was now, you know, it was now being introduced to the more modern day consoles like the 360 and PS3, you know. This was the first game to introduce Superstar mode, you know, Superstar mode, which is kind of like the career mode, you know, where you can take a player, create your own player, you know, have him drafted into a team and go from his rookie season all the way into his retirement, however long you want to play. Very similar to today's face of the franchise modes, you know. It's actually really okay. It's nice, you know. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of playing those modes, but if you are, then this was actually a lot of fun for you. The game started to get better and better now, and what really changed was when we climbed into the 2010s, because for example, in 2012, we had the release of Madden NFL 13, you know, which was now fully migrated to the Xbox 360, the PS3, and the Nintendo Wii, you know, aside from other consoles as well. This one here was really good. There was a very good period that Madden games were very, very good at this point here, you know, because this one, for example, was the first game for the PlayStation Vita and also to have Connect support, and it also had this new physics engine that promoted actual, you know, real life physics in the game, so it felt very realistic and more grounded. It was a lot of fun to play, you know. Madden 12 was a very good balance. The subsequent games like, you know, 13, 14, 15 had a lot of really good balance modes, you know, the graphics, the playability, you know, everything was really, really just, you know, how can I say it? It just felt like you were actually playing a real football simulator, you know. And speaking of the last game that I said, you know, in 2014, we had the release of Madden NFL 15, which now had the added bonus of making the migration to the next-gen console. So, you know, we had the Xbox One and PlayStation 4, and this one here had these new dramatic camera angles, these lighting effects, you know, these really cool dynamic pre-game cinematics, and also these halftime features, you know. It looked really good, man. It was getting so much better. Unfortunately, as the years went by, there started to be a lot of in-game monetization, you know. Like Ultimate Team had been introduced in Madden 10, and it started to get really monetized after that, especially climbing into like the Madden 17s and 18s, you know. Everything was just pay to win, you know. There were way too many skill cards to use, you know, and basically it started to become like this gambling program where you'd have to pay to get additional stuff. It wasn't really good, you know, but a lot of the graphical capabilities were better, you know. They started to evolve because we're talking about gaming consoles. So climbing into like the 2010s, it did look really good, you know. I actually started playing Madden around this time myself. I began with, I think it was 18 or 19, so I noticed a lot of the evolution, you know. So, but the problem is that it started to get really buggy, very glitchy, you know, a lot of tactical errors, and it was pretty okay, you know. We had some really good athletes like Patrick Mahomes as the cover athlete for Madden 20. Then we had in 21 it was, I think, Lamar Jackson of the Baltimore Ravens. Then we had Tom Brady again, you know, along with Patrick in 22. And in 23, there was a very special thing that happened because we had John Madden as the cover star because of his death in 2021, you know. And the next gen cover of that game of Madden 23 actually had him, a poster of him celebrating his Super Bowl win, you know, in Super Bowl 11 with as the coach of the Raiders. So, you know, it just kept getting better and better and evolving more and more. But there are a few controversies that I will address now after I take a breather here and show you guys another clip here from a Madden game. Now let's fast forward about 10 years or so.
Blitz. Lewis gets the toss. Armstead with the tackle at the 38. Jamal Lewis is a strong inside runner.
Yeah, he can really hit the hole that the offensive line forms, then push any would-be tacklers back for extra yards.
Looking a little better, huh? Looking just a tad bit better there. You know, that is the idea. You know, that's kind of what I wanted to show with the clips here, the evolution. And here's the thing, guys. Remember what I said earlier about the commentary in-game? Well, this actually has drawn a little bit of criticism because the commentary has evolved over the years, but there is a certain point where it does feel repetitive, you know? Like when the game was first introduced to next gen back in 05, 06, you know, the very first Maddens on the 360 and PS3, it just had a generic, you know, EA radio broadcaster just doing, you know, regular play-by-play, you know, so it was very drony and monotonous, you know, just a random, you know, a radio announcer just pretty much talking about the play. So John Madden was involved in this that I just mentioned with the radio announcer was from Madden 06 to 08, you know, where they started to change up a little bit. Madden himself, John Madden, was involved in doing commentary as well, you know, but Madden NFL 2009 was the first, was 2009? Madden NFL 09. Madden 09 was the last game to have his actual commentary, but in a reduced role because he started to become very, very bored with it, you know, for lack of a better term. Like, because he had recorded thousands of lines of dialogue for these games, you know, but at one point it starts to get tedious because you're just reading a script over and over and over and over again, saying the same things over and over again, you know, reciting the same lines over and over and over again, you know, for the same in-game moments over and over and over again. So he said that this was the hardest part of it, you know, and also the most just boring because there was really nothing else that he could do. So it wasn't as much fun for him anymore. So that's why he eventually stopped being a commentator. So it does make sense. And the commentary, if you pay attention to it, is actually really good, especially in the Madden games today. You know, there are quite a few different broadcasters and commentators here and there, and it does make a difference. But sometimes, honestly, I prefer to play without the commentary because I like to actually pay attention to the game or even listen to music, which is something that I do a lot when I'm grinding out achievements in the face of the franchise mode, you know, playing with my avatar in different positions. So I'll listen to music or watch a YouTube video on my tablet or something, you know. So the commentary doesn't make that much of a difference for me, but it is very authentic if you stop and listen to it at some parts. You know, they'll talk about what's going on, the rookie player, the veteran player, then everything in between. So now a lot of the criticisms directed towards Madden are the bugs, you know, the glitches, which if you really analyze it for what it is, I mean, it is true, man. The games in recent years, despite being, you know, like a part of triple edge, you know, gaming consoles, you know, we're talking about the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X, you know, there are still a few bugs, and Madden NFL 24 has drawn criticism for not being very fun, you know, and it's just terrible. I haven't played it yet personally myself, but haven't really found a single person who's praised it, so maybe there's something to be said there. But me personally, I always stick to the kickoff mode, which in Madden is called Play Now. I like to go there and just play a random match with whatever team that I want to, usually my team, the Miami Dolphins, you know, or I go into face of the franchise to get achievements. There are a few different modes that I kind of stay away from, like Ultimate Team. not a fan at all whatsoever, you know. Online play, even less so. I do not do any of those. There's also, you know, franchise mode is something that I don't really enjoy too much unless, again, I can get achievements on the Xbox. I go inside, look up a guide on YouTube and get the Chivos. They pop and I'm out. You know, I don't really care much for playing them. Face of the franchise, I admit, is a little fun. You get to create your player. You know, it's pretty much like Superstar mode back in the day, career mode, make your avatar and just grind through, you know, some stats, get some achievements, you know, put up some records and stuff, win games, win Super Bowls. It is kind of fun, you know. And you can't deny that the game is complicated. I personally see a lot of bugs. You know, I saw quite a few in Madden 22 and also in 23, but then again, I have an Xbox One. It is a little outdated, so maybe that's why there are so many bugs and glitches all the time, you know. Graphically speaking, they do look good because these games evolve, man, from a cinematic standpoint. You know, the in-game cinematics look amazing. The player celebrations when they score touchdowns or when they get first downs or when they throw a Hail Mary way up the field, you know. You can see the coaches, the offensive coordinators, the players on the bench, everybody celebrating, you know, they get up. You can see them being frustrated when the game isn't going their way. You'll see the coach throwing down his clipboard if they lose a game. You know, you can see players being frustrated and leaving the field all pissed, or maybe they'll talk to each other, shake hands, you know. It looks amazing. These games evolve in this aspect here, man. So as somebody who doesn't really play any of the other modes, especially online, and doesn't see too many bugs and glitches, it ultimately doesn't affect the gameplay for me too much, you know. You can say how crappy the current Madden games are because you play a bunch of different modes and you see that a lot more than me, but I only play occasionally, you know, when I want to do a quick little football game or two. So to me, it really is awesome, man. It really is great, honestly, and it doesn't really feel like any of the negative aspects affect anything too much. Like, oh, Ultimate Team has too many loot boxes now and it's way too monetized and too pay to win. I don't play Ultimate Team. I don't care. It doesn't affect me, you know. So I analyze the game as the actual football simulator that it is. So to me, that has always evolved amazingly, and today it is just really fun to play, you know. And let's take a look at another clip here from a game. Now let's fast forward another 10 years or so to something a little bit more recent.
It's now 3rd and 6. Looks right, throws. He's got it! Touchdown!
Just a great route that time. No way that he wasn't going to catch that football and score with that one. That was beautiful.
If you analyze Madden, you know, the series as a whole as, you know, a sports simulator video game, something made for entertainment to simulate a sports, to simulate an NFL game in real life, you know, it is actually very fun, man, you know. The problem is that a lot of people, they overlook way too many details, you know. Oh, there are some bugs here and there. I was going to throw a touchdown and then my player no-clipped for a second, you know, before running into the end zone. Oh, I tackled a guy and my player's arm went through his stomach or whatever. Oh, I went out of bounds and I threw the coach into oblivion. Like, this doesn't, like, it's not, these aren't game-breaking glitches, man, you know. We're not talking about Anthem that would pretty much fry your console as soon as you booted it up, you know. There are glitches, yes, but no video game is perfect, you know. No video game is perfect. There will always be bugs and glitches. Even your favorite video game definitely has a few, you know. Although I do understand, you know, that, you know, Madden, you know, the series, you know, EA Tiburon, you know, who developed it, they clearly don't really care too much, you know. They haven't really been putting a lot of effort into it lately. They just care about the money and monetization, you know. They just want to put these games out every year, you know. So it seems like they're rushing a few times to get it out with very little, if any, improvements, because when it comes to sports games, you can't argue that every year they are essentially nearly the same game with a few tweaks here and there. It's only after about 2 or 3 games, you know, that you actually start to see a difference, you know, in the playability or even the graphics or the game modes, you know, the overall atmosphere, you know. So that's how I analyze these games, you know. So Madden, to me, the way that they evolve, man, the amount of things that you can do with a playbook in Madden today is crazy. The audibles that you can call, the different tactics, you know, like there are so many different ways that you can format plays, you know, by the concept, the play type, the formation, you know, the coach suggestions. You can do whatever the hell you want, man. Whether you're on offense or defense, you can blitz, you know, put up a bunch of covers, and also you can do runs, you can do passes, long throws, everything. There is so much packed into these games that it's very hard for me to believe that an NFL fan who truly loves the game, you know, the sport, isn't gonna have fun because of a few bugs and glitches, you know. It does ultimately bog down my final rating, you know. Very clearly there have been poor performances lately, you know, and they don't really seem to be caring too much about tweaking them and making it better. So if I had to give this entire franchise a rating based on the games that I personally played as well, taken into consideration, remember, I have seen a lot of videos on YouTube, you know, and researched and stuff, you know, but as a gamer, my first exposure to the Madden franchise was back in, I think, Madden 18 or 19 on the Xbox One. So from there to here, it hasn't really been too bad, you know, as an experience. So I am going to give the series as a whole a 9 out of 10 because it's not perfect. I have to recognize, you know, the history here, you know, where the evolution just kind of peaked and stopped after a few years, and now it seems to be getting worse, you know. You guys can go over to Soft Drink TV. This is a really good YouTube channel where he does a lot of analysis about different Madden games, you know, the best one, the worst one, the last good one, you know, introspectives. I love that channel so much. So that is it, you know. Maybe if I had played it for longer since the PS1 or PS2 days, I would have had a different opinion, but because my exposure has been very little, you know, that's what I can say. And I don't really think there's anything else I can add, you know. I think I covered it all, and I don't want this video to get too long, you know. Different than my review of the EA series, which was like nearly half an hour long. I think I'm gonna wrap it up here, guys. So yeah, that's it. So now there was something else that I was gonna say. There's also this thing called the Madden NFL curse, which is, I'm pretty sure you know it if you play these games, where, you know, a player will be a cover athlete and he's gonna suffer like a season-ending or career-ending injury or something, you know. But I'm not gonna talk about that. Maybe I'll do another video about it later. But I don't want to I just want to let you know that it's not part of this analysis here. Let me know in the comments below if you guys have ever played Madden, if you like it, you know, and which one is your favorite. My personal favorite, I think, is Madden NFL 21. You know, it's just the best one that I played, you know, for achievements, playability, graphics, you know, the last good one on the Xbox One, at least in my opinion. So that's it, guys. If you happen to like this video, please go ahead and give it a like, and also subscribe to my channel because I release videos every single day. And while you're at it, hit the notification bell too, so you can know exactly what time I upload. And it's all good. It's all good. And now before I go, I'm going to leave you one more clip of a Madden game, this time a very, very recent one, maybe 22 or 23, just to wrap up the evolutionary thing that I was doing here with the clips. So roll the final, did I say the outro correctly? Yeah, because it was, okay, yeah, so now roll the final Madden clip and then the outro screen.
I think a confidence hit does occur once you start getting those numbers up there a little bit. But as you and I both know, it's not always...
Well, this is taken in. It's complete. And he will get into the end zone. It's another touchdown. This thing is...